I don't know about you, but I rarely read or watch the news. And that sometimes puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to, what's happening in the world. But although I am really bad at knowing what is up in the news and in the world because it makes me depressed, I am quite good at spotting trends for business because that is where I live every single day. I laugh because last week I was talking to a business friend and she showed me some of her content and I said, oh yeah, no, I wouldn't post posts like that because you can instantly see those are made in Canva, not on Instagram, and they will make your audience feel like you didn't post in the moment and we want stuff to feel organic. And she just stared at me and I said, well, this is not relevant for everyone's business. For my business, it's important that things feel very in the moment, very organic, personal brand, because I'm not doing B2B and working corporate. For someone else's business, this might not be relevant at all. Now, today, I'm not going to talk to you about what you should make in Canva or not, or if you should be using Instagram. Today, I want to talk to you about a couple of things that I wrote down when I was in Dubai. Because when I was in Dubai, I took a step back and I mapped out for my clients what I believe are some of the best or most important business trends to know about that will make or break your 2026. This is not just going to be a podcast of me saying you need to use AI. No, we're going to just walk into a couple of things that you probably already know. And I'm going to share with you how I'm doing certain things. I have a list of 10-ish written down. And we're just going to dive right in. Okay, ready? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, a show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van de Putte from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. Okay, so first let's talk about why it's important to stay on top of trends. I don't really believe in comparing yourself to your competition all the time. I just mute my competition. I try to focus on my clients as much as possible, but that doesn't mean that we should just, not stay up to date whatsoever. I think AI is teaching us that the world is changing fast and that we should stay ahead. And so trends are something to take into account because if we can kind of stay ahead of trends, then we have a competitive advantage, which is what we do like. So if you're anything like me and you don't like looking at your competition too much, if you muted them, what you could do is take one strategic moment each month to kind of check out what the competition is doing, to read up on some trends and stuff like this podcast, and then you just close it off again and you just go about your month. At least that's what I do. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't even look at my competition every month. I rarely look at them. I do a lot of my business and my marketing from empathy, and I just really listen and look at my clients. And I've noticed in the past couple of years that when you use empathy as a marketing tool, you will always win and stay ahead of trends. So that might be my first tip or my introduction, which leads me to trend one. Trend one is authenticity will win over automation. Now, I love automating things. I love shortcuts. I am FastForwardAmy after all. But I do believe that, especially because of AI, people are craving more and more real. So your voice, your flaws, your unpopular opinions are going to be winning. I noticed myself writing something out at the airport and I thought, well, you know what? This post is actually fully written by hand and it feels a lot less perfect than stuff that will be perfectly written out and spelled with AI. But I reckon people are actually going to feel this. And anytime I write from the heart, you can really see a difference with that and repurposed content or with stories. For example, for me, I've kind of, I realized that when we automate Instagram stories and we publish the single story slide that's really popular right now, like there's this whole thing right now in the algorithm, I'll post a single story slide and that will do really well and your views will go up. I get really bored of seeing the same shit everywhere. So I was like, you know what? Maybe my views will be lower, but at least I will have actually made an impact or talked about something that I actually care about. So a few weeks ago, I actually opened up on my stories about something I'd been struggling with. It had to do with like freezing my eggs or not. And I noticed that not only in the moment itself, a lot of people reacted, but even just now, I had my sister-in-law on the phone. I had actually my other sister-in-law. We were chatting through WhatsApp. And I've had so many friends and family reach out in private about that topic who I didn't even see reply to that story, which is a really good parameter of like, when do people notice you doing things? I saw that my story views weren't necessarily super high when I posted about it, but you do see that people are registering a lot more stuff than you think. So if you've ever thought, I don't want to show up because I'm not feeling perfect or I'm not feeling great, remember that you get to show up anyways, because I hear this from clients all the time. They're like, yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to tarnish my brand. I don't want to show up imperfectly because it might hurt my reputation. But if then the option is that you'll only show up once instead of 10 times, what is your best option? Of course, this is different for every brand, but I do believe that authenticity, and I've said this in multiple episodes, is going to be queen this year and, like, if anything, in the next 10 years. Which brings me actually to the second thing, which is simplicity as a strategy. I've been talking to so many people, and no one is currently saying, I would love to work myself into the ground and completely burn out and then just, make money that I won't even have time to spend. Literally, no one says that. So if we look at actually the third trend, so I'll hop between those two, is we're seeing a little bit of a rise of the anti-hustle scaling. Now, if I look online, there are so many lies about this. I want you to know this. There are people, it's kind of like in politics, left and right. There's two really big extremes. There's this whole, I don't know, wave of entrepreneurs talking about feminine energy, spirituality, feeling good, being in flow, alignment. And I'm not saying I disagree with those things, but then you have the other end of the spectrum, the hustle bros. And it almost feels like right now, there's only one of two options. I believe there is a middle option, and I've done this quiz with my clients multiple times. I have asked multiple times, would you like to just not work at all? Almost no one actually says that. I believe that many of us, we actually want to make an impact. We want to get satisfaction out of what we're doing. We just don't want to burn out from doing it. So we need an in-between. And of course, that's what the women who are talking about the alignment stuff are actually saying. And it might be what the hustle bros are saying. I don't think so, but okay. But rest has become a bit of a power move. And I come from, 10 years ago when I started as an entrepreneur, I was really proud of barely sleeping or working super hard until it almost just made me crash and burn. And now I've realized that although I love my work, I also don't want to do what the hustle girls are doing. And sorry to everyone on Instagram, but I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. to get some work in. I like scaling my business and I love enjoying the money I'm actually making by actually having time off and by knowing which stable revenue is coming in and by working with people I like and love. So what I'm saying is, one of the trends in 2026 is definitely going to be the whole barely work anymore. But if I'm being really honest, we are going to be seeing in the next few months a rise of people who are also going to start admitting oh, it's not as easy as we might have made it look. And there's going to start being a little of a mid-hustle message. I believe there's a lot of coaches who are going to come back from the whole just do it passively. People are actually going to be working with clients again a lot more. There's going to be less scalability in some product suites. So if you've ever felt like you shouldn't work, it's probably not true. If you feel like you should only work, it's not true. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and we're going to be seeing a lot more content about that. It is actually okay to work towards building the life of your dreams. Which brings me to the second trend, because I hopped from one is authenticity, 3 is the rise of the anti-hustle scaling, or whatever you want to call it. Mid-hustle? Should we call it mid-hustle? That feels good. Mid-hustle. Is there a different word? I will ask ChatGPT. Is there another word for not no hustle and not super bro hustle, but in between? Let's see what it says. Can you hear me typing? This is going to be funny. Okay, so it says, okay, you're not alone. This is so good. You're not alone in needing language that sits between toxic hustle and do-nothing softness. This was described in a much better way than I just did it. Okay, I see here intentional drive, aligned action. These are what I call bullshit bingo words. Focused flow. This is bullshit bingo. Give me a hustle combined option. I didn't know this was going to be a podcast where you could hear me chat with my chatty. Healthy hustle. Oh, I like that. Heart-led hustle, honest hustle, soft hustle, smart hustle. I love all of those actually. So it's not hustle or rest. It gets to be both. Honest hustle. Honest hustle. I struggle with pronouncing these words, but I feel it. Healthy hustle, resting hard, showing up harder. I like that. Yeah, let me know what you think if you have any suggestions. I love it when I get messages about the stuff I was thinking about in the podcast. I'm actually going to be coming out with some guest episodes soon, but I will also keep doing these me episodes because I like that I get to talk to you as just my friends in a really unfiltered way. Let's keep it at you can love what you do and still need a break, and both are fine. But so what I have been working on personally behind the scenes is, if you've followed me in the last couple of years, you know that I always do a lot. I have multiple programs. I help both people who want to start, but also people who want to scale. I have my team. I have my family. Honest to God, sometimes I get like 300 messages a day across WhatsApp, Slack, Instagram, probably more, and it drives me nuts. So I've been having to really look at myself. Like, I'm in that season where I'm like, do I want kids? I know I want kids, but I don't want them now. Do I freeze my eggs? I do kind of like want to baby proof my business. I'm not going to post about this on Instagram. I'm just going to tell you, like, I want to simplify some of stuff in my business. And I had to kind of look at this, and I had to decide to simplify some stuff in my business, which was very timely because there's a lot of my clients who are doing the same thing. And so the concept that I want to introduce you to is something my friend Katie said a couple of weeks ago, a couple of times. My friend Katie's from Canada. She's amazing. I'll have her on the podcast. And she said, diluted focus creates diluted results. And I believe 2026 is the year where simple wins. Your main offer, your main revenue engine, the main type of client you want to serve, the main channel you're focused on, just like give it your all to make one thing work really, really well throughout 1 year. And for me, it is my business club, but my business club has multiple levels. But we are creating one sales system that we can just focus on day after day, week after week, month after month. Because although I love launching, I have seen the trend of like launches are having a little bit less of an impact because there is just simply so much noise and people's buying behavior has changed. So I would say this is the year where we use simplicity as a strategy to create stability. And isn't that what we are all craving for? So, just sales calls are going to make a comeback. Passive stuff, evergreen content, everything that can just keep on living and keep on working for you, even when you are not actively, doing a big ass launch, is going to be winning. And what you need to do that is actually to be really, really focused on what you want. So I see this with my clients all the time. I'm the same way. We have so many ideas, which actually leads us to spending 80% of our efforts on the start of an idea, but we skip the last 20% and we never focus enough on actually getting the idea seen by enough people. The example could be you have a podcast and you put a lot of effort into your podcast, but you forget to tell your friends that you have a podcast. You forget to promote your podcast. With your business, it could be that, like me, you have a whole ass membership and you are going from launch to launch and you're actually forgetting to promote your actual business club membership. So this is me, right? And a few weeks ago, I was looking at my 2026 plan and I thought I'd had it all mapped out, but I was feeling like, I think there's a little bit of like confusion in the team. And I really sat down. My other friend, Lucy, she says, when you're in the bottle, you can't read the label. And I was like, oh my I didn't read the label because here I am going from launch to launch and doing all of these exciting things. But in the meantime, I keep forgetting to promote my actual business club membership. So I went and installed a whole sales system with my team that goes from organic content, sharing more wins, testimonials, have that lead to sales calls. I'll be doing some sales calls myself before I find a salesperson to take over from me because I don't plan on doing sales calls the entire year, but I'm going to make some adjustments as like how we do this. And I felt really good about it. I was like, oh yeah, I actually love that this is launch or not. This is just something that is very, very repeatable. And we're just going to focus on, growing the membership. And that is it. And in the meantime, other stuff can happen, but this is our core growth engine. And if I could say anything to anyone, literally, if you're at 5K months, 10K months, 60K months, if you want to grow your business, the best thing you can do is just scale one engine to 100K months. that's going to be your best bet. And if you can do that without launching, even better. Okay, so trend number 4 is AI. Haha, you didn't see that coming, right? I guess, does anyone talk about AI? Jokes. I know everyone is talking about AI, but what I want to talk about is not just using AI, because my boyfriend is obsessed. He's one of those people who actually gets how it works in the back end. I'm not there, although I do pick up some stuff from him, and I've been investing in AI, investing in learning together with my team. But the way I use AI is actually as my co-pilot. So I see a lot of people using AI to then create stuff that they don't actually understand themselves. That's not how I use it. I use it every day so I can organize my brain, so I can prep for launches for project trackers, to translate stuff, but I never use it to replace my brain or to create stuff that I actually don't understand myself. I don't use it to create my brand voice. I use it to speed myself up, but not to lose my magic. And of course, it can be very, very tempting to do it because it's so fast, but people are noticing when someone actually can still create something like, a podcast, versus when it's just all AI jibber jabber. I think this is definitely the year where you can get copied a lot, but if you have a soul, you want your soul to shine through in your content. So what we're actually doing is, for example, for me, my podcast, I record that based on my own ideas. I also use data and a bunch of AI tools to look at what is performing well. So I will come up with an episode and outline it, and then I will look at my 5-year analysis of which episodes did best, and then I will use AI to help me come up with a better title that actually appeals to my audience, for example. But I don't just ask ChatGPT, hey, what could I create a podcast episode about? What I did earlier today was I did upload a bunch of notes from the past month and a half. And I was like, here are all of my notes and ideas from the past month and a half. Here's my podcast analysis based on my ideas and what you know about my audience. Help me identify what will actually do well. And then I did that, and I decided to not do anything with the results. And I still decided to create this episode. So I would say use it as your co-pilot, use it as a way to structure, to repurpose, to organize things, but don't use it as your brain. Make sure you still have a brain. Which brings me to the next trend, which is we're not making content anymore for content's sake. Now, I am the queen of volume and consistency. I love it, but content isn't queen anymore. Community is, because people are scrolling through Instagram. Everyone has dopamine fried brains, and people are kind of like fed up with having to do stuff. I look at a lot of people I know, like their batteries are a bit depleted. You know how when your iPhone is almost like out of battery, it turns yellow, the battery? I think that is actually how a lot of people feel, but people are scrolling brain dead. So when you are creating content, what you can ask yourself is, am I actually identifying with the client I want to reach? Am I actually making them feel good or bad? Or am I just not thinking about who I'm talking to? I have helped one of my clients actually to increase her revenue massively compared to a year ago. So a little over a year ago, she came to me and she entered my mastermind, and she said, I don't know what's happening, but I seem to not be able to get in any sales calls, or when I have a sales call, I can't close anymore. And the main thing we did is two things actually. We looked at who her ideal client was, and really started creating content from empathy again, not the algorithm or the hacks or whatever, just empathy. And we looked at how she was feeling about her business, and we brought her love back for the subject that she works in, and just her enthusiasm and then the empathy that combined led her to messaging me on, I think, first week of February. She messaged me and she said, I already have more revenue booked in for this year than the entire year before. So she worked on it relentlessly, and sales calls, and she wasn't afraid to bring the authenticity and to create stuff herself. And of course, she also uses AI. But what happened is just incredible. She started connecting again, and connection is what your community needs. So sure, consistency is important, content is important, but don't forget who you're actually making it for. And I make these mistakes all the time. I'll create an Instagram story and I'll think, oh shit, did I make that for someone, or am I just, shouting about something from my pedestal? And that's what you want to avoid. So really look at if you are making content for a certain community. My other brand, my Dutch brand, does really well because we grow there every day because the content is about being an entrepreneur. So it's very easy to identify with, because you want to build a community of people who all kind of are aligned in a certain way. Which brings me to actually the next trend, which is that small communities will win. So we've definitely shifted from, let's say, mass marketing to more niche stuff. People want to feel special. People want smaller, high touch groups. People want private coaching. People want personal messages. Of course, a lot of these trends are aligned, right? This is aligned with the previous one about community, but I think it's also the authenticity part. I was on the phone earlier, as I said, with my sister in law, and I'm certain she uses ChatGPT a lot or other AI tools. And I was on the phone with her, and I was just, she's pregnant and a lot of stuff is happening. And I was just asking her questions. And I thought to myself, and I have actually in 20 minutes after this podcast, I have a coaching call with my mentor. And I thought, to this day, the AI tools we use and we talk to and we brain dump in are still not actually going to ask us the really difficult questions until we can train it like that. And sure, you can map out a plan in an AI tool, but is it going to hold you accountable? Is it going to help you break through your limiting beliefs? Yeah, the better you know how to use these tools, the more they can help you. But I think people are going to quickly get fed up of asking AI for stuff. On the one hand, that will continue to increase. Obviously, I'm not dumb in that way, but I also think people are just going to really crave conversations for a conversation, going for a walk with a friend, not getting a response that is a plan, mapped out by AI, but actually feeling connection through what you are sharing. So if you're currently building stuff, focus on depth, go deep, be honest, be transparent. Some of my highest converting, highest ticket sales this year have not come from launches or AI posts or the best funnels, but they've just simply come from knowing I had a lead who has been feeling a certain way and following up with them, right? Just with a simple voice note. Like, people just want to feel seen and heard. These are the basic things people want. Feel seen and heard. So don't forget that. Which brings me actually to the next trend. And as I said, these are all aligned. Your brand is not your logo. I mean, I don't think anyone knows my logo, to be honest, but it's the feeling people get when they interact with you. Do they feel empowered? Do they feel triggered in a good way? I know, for example, that I get to trigger people a lot. I also think that's my purpose on this earth, maybe. It's not always easy for me to carry because it would be easier to stay vanilla. But when I look at what I really want to accomplish in the world is I want to give women the idea that they can achieve anything they want as long as they set their mind to it. And I've not fully figured out what that means for me. I think sometimes when I listen to my own content, I dislike how I say things. I think, oh, I could have said that better, or that could have been more empowering, or I could have led with more positivity. Like, I am still very critical of how I do things. But what I do know is that people who have listened to the podcast, for example, or who have followed coaching, they say, like, you just give me so much energy and you give me like permission to go after my dreams. And that is actually something I want to bring into this world. So I'm going to be focusing on that a lot more in the next couple of months. And I hope you also get to look at, what do you want to accomplish with people? What feeling do you want to bring? Let's say you have skincare. Maybe the feeling is that, the woman you are talking to gets to spend 10 more minutes on herself and she shouldn't feel guilty as a mom always, right? So what is the feeling you are bringing to the table? Do people feel seen by your brand? And if not, can you maybe add 10% of that in? Okay. By the way, if any of this has resonated with you, I this is actually making me laugh because, again, I have no script. I don't know if you've ever seen me record a podcast, but I'm just like sitting here with my microphone. But I'm currently in the middle of organizing my retreat for clients, which is in the beginning of May. So I have 2 masterminds, right? 2 small communities with a maximum amount of people who can join. We are doing a small mastermind retreat soon in the sunshine. It's going to be amazing. 3 days of deep diving into your business growth. This is for multiple 6-figure entrepreneurs or 7-figure entrepreneurs who want to go to seven figures and beyond. That's my self-made millionaire mastermind. And then I have another one where we look at how can you go from multiple six figures to like your first 500K a year. So if you're interested in either of those, just simply message me the word mastermind on Instagram. We'll actually get on a call, you and I, if you're a fit, if I'm a fit for you, and we can just talk, no obligations. But if you're currently feeling like, oh yeah, I could really use some people to spar with, maybe ChatGPT isn't my best friend, just simply reach out, message me mastermind. I'll follow up with you personally. We'll book in a call and let's talk about what might be beneficial for your business this year. Okay, good. So we had a couple of trends that we already talked about. I'm going to talk to you about the last trends. So one trend that I have a love-hate relationship with is being unapologetic about money. I often still feel weird talking about money, but a while back, someone actually called me out on it. She's like, oh, you only talk about money. And I was like, well, also, I'm a business coach, not a spiritual coach. So this is something I talk about because people actually pay me to make more money. That's literally my job. Not just that, but one of the things. I always say, like, you can have fun in your business, but if you don't have any money, you don't actually have a business. You have a really expensive hobby, right? And I actually really think that we still have a lot of work to do in terms of money. I think women are still being held small. They still do too many things because society has dictated it that way, because we have been brought up in certain ways. And there is still too much shame about wanting more money. And I don't think we should apologize for wanting more. You want to buy the purse, you buy the purse. You want to make more money, make more money. But for example, for me, I don't make money to buy more handbags, but I love that I could buy one if I wanted to. I love that I get to be there for my family, both, in terms of my calendar. I could literally cancel everything in my calendar when something is wrong with one of my family members or my friends and just be there for them, because I am my own boss and I have the money to do it. And for me, that is the whole point, is having choice. So I do think this is going to be more of a hot topic. There's always the pendulum of change. It goes in extremes. There's going to be a lot more talk about just being unapologetic and going after what you want. And if no one else does it, I'll do it. The next trend is about funnels. Have you heard about funnels? Webinars, funnels, email sequences. I have a new funnel for you. People don't necessarily need a 7 email sequence and a 90-minute webinar to buy from you. They need to trust you. And trust is built when you actually show up, when you are honest, when you are consistent, when you are authentic. So if you've been struggling with your sales lately, maybe have a look at your content, have a look at what you've been doing, and simply dive into what I call the trust funnel. Like, just look at how could I increase trust. And one of the easiest ways to increase trust is to just be consistent in how you show up. So I saw a lot of people say 2025 was not a good year for coaches. It was actually one of my best years. And I believe that is because my team and I have been putting in the work. We spend so much time on our clients. We have such a good retention rate. We have such good, we have new reviews and testimonials every single week, word of mouth. And I believe it's because people can actually feel that we care. And that is why they trust us. So trust is a new funnel. Have a look at your actual funnels or your actual marketing and look at how could I increase trust building. Yeah. And then last but not least, if you've been struggling to sell lately, I've been seeing a lot of people who sell and who have reported lower sales. And what I believe here is that the new thing we are selling is time. People are overwhelmed, overstimulated, maxed out. And I believe time rich is the new rich. So if you can sell stuff that saves people time, that gives them back energy, that gives them freedom, you are going to win. And this also means for yourself. If your business is not making you feel rich in time, in energy and choice, then you're going to feel not amazingly. And I know it's not easy because I also go through my patterns of being too busy and then having to reshuffle stuff. But this could be your year to restructure, to rebuild, to simplify, to create stability, because I don't know about you, but I would rather have my evenings and my weekends off and only work with people I love than make a bit more money that I would then never have any time to spend, right? So, dare to be really honest with yourself. Do you want to make more money, or would you love to build your business in a more stable, simple way? What is your way of feeling rich this year? Okay, so for me, what I can share with you, very honestly, I already touched on it, but this is the year I'm simplifying. I am currently, I don't like it, but I'm like really deep into the COO role of my business. We are hitting the SOPs, we're hitting the KPIs. I'm not really allowed to work on new stuff unless I finished my other work. We are standardizing my calendar. I'm not currently someone who's not working hard. I'm working really, really hard on improving a lot of things, but that I can actually reap the benefits from afterwards. So maybe I want to leave you today after this episode with one really simple question, and that is, what would rich mean for you this year? Does it mean the 10K months, the 100K months? Does it mean meeting new friends by joining a mastermind? Wink, wink. Does it mean having time for your health, for your family? For me, I have a couple of really big goals for this year. And one of my big goals is just simply my health. I've been working on this for years. Every year I feel better and better. I look better. I glow more. I am stronger. I'm leaner. And this year, it's another one of my top 3 goals. Even when I'm writing down stuff for my business, my health is my non-negotiable. And that is a big part of me being able to feel rich. So I'm going to leave you with this question for today, and I'll hope to see you back next week. What does rich mean to you this year? Okay, talk to you next week, Tuesday. And by the way, if you're new here, welcome to the podcast. It would mean the world to me if you actually hit subscribe or follow on the podcast, because then you will actually get a notification when there's a new episode. And I work hard on publishing a new episode every single Tuesday. And so if you are new here, hit follow and go and check out the previous episodes, because I've been releasing a bunch of new episodes that are all very aligned for anyone who's not here for no hustle or only hustle, but who's here for, let's call it, the healthy hustle, because you should never be ashamed to work on building the life of your dreams, okay? Don't be ashamed to work hard, but also make sure that you're working hard to actually achieve the goals you want, not the goals someone else wants you to want, okay? Bye.